Well, today's project is going to be getting the service feed cable from the pole over to the panel here, tied in, ran up the pole with a piece of conduit so that I'll be able to get this inspected and get the service hooked up. So just got the skid steer out right now. I'm starting to trench for the cable. However, I don't really have to trench very deep because basically we're going to be laying some sand down here, laying the cable on the sand in a slight ditch that I'm gonna dig out of here, a small trench, and this is gonna end up getting backfilled with at least a foot or two of dirt. So by then it'll meet code by being deep enough in the ground. So it's a little awkward scenario because I really am sort of laying the cable on top of the ground in some spots rather than actually trenching it, but I'm gonna try and still get it well buried right in between, sandwiched in between some sand that I'm gonna get brought over here pretty soon. So for now I'm just getting digging around, just make sure there's no big rocks or roots or anything that are going to be in my way, and then basically the rest of this cable will just kind of come right up here and pop right up into an expansion joint right into this panel. So just going to be out here today getting some of this done and see how far I could get. Alright, so after some screwing around here and playing in this sort of mud, clay, sand mix, it's just kind of a mess. I mean, basically what happened here is the top layer sort of froze over the past couple days, and as I'm breaking through it, it's getting really wet. So it's not bad actually where the trench is. It's starting to, as the sun comes out, all this ice over here is starting to turn into water, so it's just kind of getting a little muddy, but we're making progress. I think I'm actually at a really good spot to start getting some sand in here and lay this cable down. So we're actually already about almost 2 feet in some spots, which is basically how deep we need to be for this cable. But we're also going to probably do a foot of topsoil over this eventually when we grade out this hill. So we'll be plenty deep, especially in this area here. This will end up getting filled quite a bit, but I do want to encase the cable in sand because it's going to sit here for a little bit before the inspector gets here the next few days. So we'll get this all tied in, at least the cable ran and up out of the ground, and then I'll just sort of bury it in sand, maybe leave it like that, take some pictures for the inspector. He's usually pretty good, but I just don't want anything obviously getting washed away if we have heavy rain. So then we'll put our safety warning tape down on top of that. That's for basically if anybody is digging in the future in this area, they'll hit that red tape before they hit our cable. So just waiting on the truck to come with the load of sand, and we'll basically just start laying it down and get the cable out and start laying that out. Well, here's the final product of installing the cable and everything on the breaker panel. Unfortunately, I was not able to complete recording all of the work because as we started getting here with the skid steer and digging out the trench, it started to rain a little bit. It got heavier and heavier, and before you knew it, it was starting to wash out. It was super muddy, could barely move the skid steer in here. We were able to at least get the cable in, some sand underneath the cable on top of it, get everything backfilled before we could barely even move in. I mean, it was really, really bad. You could still see it's just a mud pit down here. So I kind of just threw the cameras in the truck and didn't even worry about it. So I guess I will just walk through everything and what we ended up with. So we ran the cable obviously from the pole here. We have that ran up with a stick of conduit and some brackets on it, and we have the spare rest of the cable just looped on the ground there so the power company can attach that up to the top. We ran the cable up here and through this conduit right here with an expansion joint into a combination breaker meter panel. These are really nice, just all in one, so you don't have a separate meter box. We put a receptacle here with a breaker and breaker here, it's the main. And this junction box here is actually going to be for the cable that's going to run from here out to the house. So we have a very long run, about 400 feet. So what we're going to end up doing is actually beefing up the cable that goes from here all the way to the house to deal with what's called as voltage drop. So I ran some calcs, what I'm going to be losing from here over to this panel. Then I calculated what I'm going to lose in voltage all the way out to the house. So the energy company wanted me to originally put a transformer by the house, which is normal, you know, when you have that sort of distance. But the cost it was going to add up to was just crazy. So they wanted $6,000 to provide the primary cable and to pull it. I had to supply the conduit and trench everything. But along with that, they wanted me to put in a spare conduit. So we're talking 4-inch conduit, 400 feet times 2. That was about another almost $7,000 worth of material. So $12,000–$13,000 I was going to have to spend. Instead, I'm going to beef up the cable all the way out there. Yes, it's not a cheap cable. It's probably, I think it's around $3,500 to get me there, but a lot cheaper than $12,000–$13,000. So altogether with the cable ran to the pole, all this equipment here, I'm at about $1,800 just in material, and then we'll probably spend another, like I said, at least $3,500. Obviously we need a panel and junction box at the other end, so you know we'll be in it a lot less than $13,000. So obviously you do have to be worried about voltage drop though, so we did have to, you know, make sure that that 500 is going to do it. So we will still have some loss at the house for sure, but as long as you're within that 3% drop to the house as well as 5% total drop to your branch circuits within the house, you're good to go. So and even then, I mean, you could be in a range from 110, 120 or 220, 240 within that range, and you're good. All the devices will work. So yeah, basically we'll just run the big cable up into here, use some Polaris taps to convert to some 4/0, which is also what's ran from the pole to here. So that'll just stub through here and tie into the panel. So that's it for this project for now. This is one of the goals we wanted to complete before the heavy snow really fell. This will sit here all winter. We'll get hooked up. The inspector's coming in 2 days just to put a sticker on this, call the power company and get this hooked up, ready to go. And we'll be ready for spring to run that cable out there and start building. Go ahead, check out our other videos on the channel. There's going to be plenty of upcoming videos with all the work we're doing here, all the site clearing, all the site work that we've been doing, getting the pad built up for the home way back there. And if you haven't yet, click subscribe and give this video a thumbs up, and we'll see you guys on the next one.